I really examined like why folks did that. I think because DC is so transient, I do think genuinely, I have a lot of folks who were raised here too. My wife was born and raised in DC. Now she moved to St. Croix when she was a baby, and when she moved back, she was crying because she had to put on shoes. So I call her like she's a DC, but kind of a little bit island girl too. I do think because it's so transient, folks genuinely want to know like what you do. Like, whereas for us, because we talked about the melting pot that is Detroit, you have that huge dichotomy and next door neighbors. Everyone was just Detroit. I think here in DC, folks genuinely want to know like where you from, like what part of the world are you from?
Yeah.
So I do think there's more of a global perspective to that question.
Okay.
But the Detroit in me, Detroit in us, we didn't see that. We didn't see that question. It took me a while to get there. So now I don't get as offended when someone says it, but I do still self-direct my answer or their question to let them know that, still a little bit off-putting, a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's along with I say that to say I think the difference the difference is Detroit was the Paris of the West, right? That's what it was called. DC is a global community now, and Detroit's in its resurgence. I love it. I love visiting there. I love vacationing. I like to say I like to vacation in my hometown because I do love it, and there's so much here to do. The big difference to me is the global community that's here. We're not going to pivot to this next 4 years and what we think that may be. But I think up to now, there's been a really appreciation for diversity in thought, diversity in background, really diversity in who you are and what you do. One of the things I used to do when I was here in my 20s was I would go to Embassy Row Day. Eat for free. Yeah, you had to be suited up and booted. But you would go, literally you can go from, the embassy of Poland to South Africa, wherever.
Yeah.
In your 20s, one is free eats, but also you learn different cultures. Then we go to Dream, which became Love, But it was, to me, it was the best of times, as you're learning other people. At that time, you're also learning who you are, and DC was a great mirror for that. Detroit was beautiful at the time, but it was going through its own kind of issues, and it was healing. I like to say Detroit was healing then, and DC was further along in this healing process. So that's my big contrast of Detroit and DC.